Hello, welcome to Hemingway's Playground. Today we start phase 2 of the tandem rebuild. Today we're going to tear the tandem apart and get it prepped and ready to go to get rebuilt. So stick around and join us as we dive into this thing and start pulling pieces off. Welcome to Hemingway's Playground. Please like and subscribe. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is release the brakes here, and we're going to take the wheels off. Brakes, release, drop, wheel, release. Set that aside. Now the next thing we're going to do is do it on the rear. Going to release those brakes and pull that wheel off. Set it aside. All right, next we're going to take this rack off, get this out of the way, and through here. Set it aside. Screw here. They screw around very tight. I'm glad I'm right. Oh, yeah, and then the other side. Use this brake hole for this rack mount. I don't know why. That's a good rack mount to blow it. Not a good way to do it. And that should come off. Done. Next, I got this kickstand here. I'm going to take that off, get that out of the way, so I don't need that extra weight. Weight weenie build doesn't need a kickstand. Done. Next, I'm going to take this big seat post or seat off of the seat post here and get that away. Pick me up from here. Maybe not. When that seat fall up, pull this up a bit. I'll get a place to sit around on me. Grab my tool. Pull this up. Saddle off the seat post and seat post out of the frame. Since I'm at the back end, I might as well just do all the stuff on the back end here. So next I'm going to take the brakes off, the rear derailleur off, release the cable there, and work on the front derailleur as well. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to release cable tension on the brake cover, so the cable off of the brake cable, get that out of the way, loosen up the cable tension here, pull that out of the way, pull the rear brake arms off, other side as well, that out of there. Now we'll do the same thing to the rear derailleur. Take the tip off. Loosen the tension on the cable. Pull the cable out of there. And then we've got to take the chain off. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can remove the pulleys out of the derailleur, but then the derailleur comes apart. At this point, I don't need to worry about the chain, so I'm going to take the chain apart. I got the quick link here. Squeeze that together. Pop that apart. There we go. Chain out of the rear. Set aside for now. Just one time. Then the right off. Derailleur's off. Good. And now the same thing with the front derailleur. Pop that off. Take the tension off of it. Your 5mm got a spark tool freeway, which makes removal super easy. Got the cable tension off. And now I've got to remove the pull hole in place. I'm going to grab the cable away. And the freeway won't turn very easily, so I'm going to grab a standard 5mm Allen wrench, which will fit in the space much more easily. Loosen this up and remove. Out it comes. And then we can throw this in the parts box with the other parts that have come off of here. One thing that I'm going to do as well that most people don't realize you can do with these older frames that also have V-brake or cantilever studs. These guys right here, these studs, I don't know if you can see them well in the camera, but you got these little studs that stick up. They're silver, but they're removable. So I'm going to, like I said, weight weenie build, so I'm going to remove those and get those out of the frame so I don't have to be dealing with the extra, I don't know, 10, 15 grams that these things are. Don't want to come out of there super easy. I got 10 millimeters up there. What about this guy? 10 millimeters. Maybe 9. These things are super soft. I'll try. See if I'm going to do a lower angle there. don't want to give. We'll come back to that later. Next, we're going to get rid of the stoker chain or the timing chain. And it's kind of loose. It's a little looser than I would like. They say you want about a ½ inch to an inch of play, and I feel like there's more than that here. It just has too much play. Let's see if I can get it off. Yeah, if I can get it off just by turning the crank, that's too loose. So when I get it back together, I'm going to put that on a little tighter. Now that that's off, let's see if we can take the rear crank off. Ah, that was tight. That was very tight. Off. There we go. Put these aside to clean because we're probably going to reuse these cranks for the rebuild, although they're pretty heavy. Well, once I took the crank out of the bottom bracket, I got down here and I could see this funky little cable guide under the bottom bracket. I've never seen anything like that before, but I guess for these longer cables, you want to have something guiding the cable. Usually there's a little piece of plastic that's under here that guides the cables. Nothing that sticks out that far. Actually, there's one right up here on the front bottom bracket. So that's kind of what we normally see, is that plastic cable guide there. But this one has something a little different. So I'm going to pull that apart here in a minute, and so we can clean that all up. All right, it's time to get these cable guides out of here. All right, I'm going to deal with this brake cable now. Just get this adjuster, cable adjuster for from rubber covers to V-brakes. Put the right cable pull on them. Cut that off because we don't need that anymore, and get that out of there. Pull the seat post clamp off as well. Let's see if there's something out there. Sometimes a little persuasion from the screwdriver helps it loose. There we go. Get right out. All right, just about done with the back end here. All right, next I'm going to get these bottle cages off of here. The bottom bracket is going to take a little bit more muscle to get out, and right now the way my stand is set up, it's flexing a little too much for me to put that type of tension into it. So it's going to take the bottle cages off, and we'll come back to getting these bottom brackets out. So it's a 2.5 millimeter, and we might get 3. Either way, get these bolts out here. Doesn't seem like it in many years, but possibly a decade. This spike is over a decade old, but you know, it's going to work really well for me and my family. One out, set that right away for now. Get the other one. Two down, and one here. Don't waste that one. I'll just do the one too. Awesome. 3 of those cages out. Throw them in the box with all the other parts. So since we're going to work on the front end of the bike now, I pulled the camera up to the front and we'll get parts off of there. Starting with the front crank, we'll get that off. Oh, super tight. One side out. The other side out. There we go. One part done. So now that I got the crank arm out, I was just checking out the bottom bracket, and I can pull this out by hand. So we know that wasn't in there very tight. Not ideal. Let's see how the bearings are feeling. Bearings are still feeling pretty smooth, so that's a good sign. I just pulled that out by hand. That's not ideal. Let's see if the other side's the same way. No, other side's in pretty decent. Well, let's move on and start pulling other parts off. We're going to do the same thing we did with the rear brake to the front brake. Cut off the cable end. Toss it in the trash. Loosen up the tension on the cable. Let that come out. And just like there, I'm going to cut that off as well. Put that in our parts bin. Our box. Take that cable housing, toss that. We're going to hydraulic brakes, so we need a brake cable. But sometimes the say, put that in our box too. Now we're going to remove the brakes themselves, brake arms. Put that in the bin. By bin, I mean part box. Alright, take that arm, put that with it. I almost dropped it, but I caught it. I don't know if you saw that. All right, this is a mount for an old style Garmin computer, which oddly enough, I think I have one somewhere. I had it for my wife's bike for a bit, but I don't know where that is. So maybe I'll dig around and look for that at a later time. But right now, I just want to take it off the stem. Peel this guy off. Throw that mount in here with the other parts for now. Good. And then we're going to remove the tape and the bar plugs that hold the tape in place. So first I'm going to take this screwdriver, pull out the bar plug. It'll trick you on that mount and then push the screw back in, and that leaves the tension still up in there. And just like so, you see this here. See that looks there. Got an end piece on here, and it's the screw that and tighten it up. This intersection flares out and that creates friction on the inside of the bar, and that's how you tighten this. So I just release that, throw that in the parts bin, and then we'll start taking off this tape. All bike know that the best thing to use to finish your bike, tape, rubber tape, electrical tape. Some brands are better than others. I think, well, the consensus before was that 3M was the better tape to use. It didn't leave too much tape residue and didn't unstretch once you cut it and put it down. Sometimes the brands will leave a adhesive on the handlebar tape when it stretches back. So it's electrical elastic, and it will start pulling back with shape. And when it does that, sometimes it will leave a sticky residue on the handlebar tape. You don't want to hold on the bar with sticky residue. Take off the old bar tape. It's got some gross sweat and grime under here, so we're just going to pitch this stuff with an all new tape. However, if you recall the last video, I need the old bar as well. So I'm going to cut this to get off here and essentially sell it. There's a swap meet model I'm going to go to if I can sell the parts. Same thing on the other side. We'll remove the bar plug here. Down there. Drop in our parts in, pull off the electrical tape. I don't know if you're did this himself, but this was not done very well. And this electrical tape is leaving some nasty sticky residue. Yeah, it's not very well. Get rid of that one in my hand and I'm working. Now, so you cut the tape, get out the handlebar tape, get it off faster. Yeah, that's right, but I'm sure now it's done this way. That way, it's all one ball, and you throw away one ball. There we go, and there's your ball getting ready to be thrown in the garbage. And I missed. So, if you don't know, road bike handlebar cables, shift cables, and brake cables, they're held onto the bar with electrical tape underneath the handlebar tape. And so we want to get these cables off, and to do so, we got to get rid of that electrical tape. We can get it off by cutting it. I'm going to try to take care not to cut and scratch into the handlebar. Now, this aluminum doesn't really matter. It's scratched a little bit. This electrical tape is sticky anymore. Just leave this sticky grinder though. Like hold on. Just this. Probably a lot of sweat has caused it as well. Because already did tell me he has a lot of auto type rides around Chicago area with it. So maybe you're in that area using this thing on some of those rides. Now we can pull out the cable housing out of the shifters and prepare those to be removed. After holding that electrical tape, look at all that blackness in there on my gloves. That's all from the sticky adhesive of the electrical tape, not bike grease, but sticky adhesive on the from the electrical tape. That's just gross stuff. Ugh. All right, now we're going to pull all these cables through. So first, I'm going to pull the housing out of the frame, pull the cables out of the frame as well. Get this housing out of the cable out of housing. Ooh, these cables are not using these cables, but there's way too much restriction here. These cables have rusted. Oh yeah, they're bad. They're locking this housing now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, those are going to trash. We don't need to throw the housing going. Same thing with this side. Pull it out. Pull the housing out here. Keep it just pitch housing. Do the brake. So this side's got some slightly different things on it. Don't see it anymore. It's got a long string of cable alongside the frame. It's got donuts on it to keep the frame from scratching into the frame. Keep the cable from scratching the frame. So if I would use one housing, one cable, I try to keep these, but I'm not going to talk about those only. So I really keep these donuts. But let that have my hands here. How about all years with an old frame and keep my hands like that. Provide those with your frame. Pull it out of there. Good. For this housing and the cable out of the shifters. Yeah, it's so old that you can see that rust right there. Part of the housing wore away from whatever reason, but the interior of the cable housing started to rust. So these cable housing are replaced, which can directly affect the performance of your bike. Replace cable housing on a regular basis. Now these, you open up the brake, hold the brake back. My goodness, and that sticks up all over brake leather from the gloves. Anyway, hold the brake back, shift cable around the side. These old 9 speed Tiagra, 9 speed all Tiagra and 1.5 were the same. And then just pitch this cable because it's old and rusted. It's not what we use for the front, but I'm not going to do it. You have to be the right gear for it. And right now it's not. Release that back. There we go. Push that through. Down there. And then the brake cable. Let's see if we can show you a little better. Brake cable. Pull this back, and if you can see that little white area there, the cable comes right out of there, and you can see it wiggling there. Can't pull it out with one hand, but that's where I'm going to pull it out from. Brake it out, throw that away. Same thing with this one, the rear brake. There we go. And then we can take the shifters off. So before I go too much further, I'm just going to take a rag and try to wipe off some of that sticky electrical tape adhesive. Get it off of here so I'm not transferring it to other parts any further. Might even do my gloves a little bit here. All right, that's a little better. Toss that to the side. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the removal of these Tiagra shifters. There's a screw down here that wraps around, that tightens this band here, and that's what holds it to the handlebar. So you get in there and release that screw. You can see this little groove right here. That's your guide for your Allen wrench. So you just get that. All right, so like I was saying, we're going to take this Allen wrench to this groove, get it into the screw bolt, and then we're loosen that up, loosen a couple turns, and then get the long end there, really loosen it easily. Just like that. Comes right off. This bar is shaped a little bit, so it's got some wider spots that are hard to get over. But once we do, just slides right off. Simple as that. Same thing on the other side. Gotta get under the hole. Slide in there and pull up. Loosen it up nice and easily, nice and loose. And slides right off the bar. Nicely done, easy as pie. Next thing we're going to do is take the stem faceplate off to get the bar off, or at least loosen it up to slide the bar out and pull the stem apart. So now we got our 4mm Allen wrench going into the stem here, loosening these bolts up a bit. You don't take the faceplate off, remove the part, take the shifters, slide it up. Just like so. Now we'll loosen up these stem bolts, the stem clamps. As I'm doing this, I'm going through this gap here. You see a little bit of rust on this here too. You can see there's rust on the headset here as well. Hopefully, there's anything significant to worry about in there. Just loosen this up a bit. Then we take the top cap off of the stem headset there. Going to hold the bottom of the fork so as I loosen this, it doesn't drop down to the ground. Top cap off. Toss that fork box. Stem. Slide off easily. There's some surface rust in there, but I think it'll pop off pretty good. Stem going in the box. Spacers. Maybe one of those. Keep them up in the box for now. Hopefully it doesn't. No, that's not coming out anytime soon. So, oh, wait, I might pull out. Pull that top cap off. It's a little hard to get past those rusty areas. There's a good seal in there to keep the water out of the bearings. That seal doesn't allow it to slide over the rough seals anymore. All right, so I got the fork out. Got the bottom bearings of the fork. It's still pretty smooth. However, we got a new headset, so we're going to get rid of this. These bearings might fit in the old new headset first later. So I'll probably on the bearing itself. I'll probably try to remove the headset. So we'll do that here in just a few minutes. We'll take these. I can get. Oh, there's the other bearing. Yeah, we'll get some tools and take that headset out. All right, so this is a headset removal tool. Drops in the tier 2, and then these little flanges push out against the headset, and then you tap it out. So I'll drop this in. Just past the end of the headset. Get a click on the right spot. Now I'll hold the frame still, so all the pressure goes into the headset. I hit the hammer. Hopefully this stands holding this frame pretty good. See if we can move a little bit. Yep, see a little gap there starting. That's how you know it's out. We'll push this out. Do the same thing in the direction. Pull it from the top down, from the top up, excuse me. Click in place, good. And hold the frame from going anywhere as we tap it down. Yep, starting to move, got a gap there. Couple more taps out. There we go. Headset is out. And so is the tool. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working on this base bar and this captain seat post, removing this stuff. Right now we're using this seat post to hold the frame on, and that's basically the best way to do it. That's using the frame on the air we're working on. However, when we're doing this work here, we're doing these posts, we're going to have some pretty wireless. I might use the frame on the seat post and set the side while we work on this. First, we're going to start moving the holding on, holding the upper on. Again, it's see what we're doing rows. Not too bad though. This tape doesn't have the right ones. It's a long trigger brand tape. It's also got red Cannondale. You can see some tape residue that's underneath here. I think that's from the original tape. This bar plug is just pressed in, so I'm just going to work that loose. And then it'll take not too bad. And there, and it's got a long one as well. So got the right ones. Take that part and then throw this away. Same thing on the other side. However, on the other side of this, and maybe you can see it in there. If I turn this a little bit, got a mirror on this end. I'm going to take the mirror off first. So I'm going to remove this. One thing they use. And put it on this side. And get that mirror removed. I think this camera should go. Pull out a little bit and then leave it down in place. Again, that interior friction holding it in place. So that just allows that to come out like so. Put this in our parts in. For later stuff. Now again, pull all this tape off. You have tape. Not as bad as the original. What the heck? There's more tape on this bar. On this tape. Put the wire tape on there. There we go. That's off. Throw that tape away. I find the tape. Well. So hold it tight. You just get out. You can get rid of stuff. And we take this bar off. Loosen that a little bit. I doesn't have to take like you have to actually slide the whole bar through. You don't have to do it. And there it is. Go in. Now, let's pull this frame off. Not too heavy. Be interested to see what the weight is once we get it all apart.
Post your frame weight guess in the comments below.
Now we're going to take the stoker stem off.
Should be too bad. Just slide it out.
Now the reason Mark his satellite, so much tape, so I get that off, get this out of there. So I'll take this out. Because that tape is going to go grind stuff. Stoker stem, right out there. Now we're going to take the saddle off. The saddle I can use for now. See close to saddle. And then get the tool, loosen that with. Saddle off. See close out. Now what we're going to do is put this back in the frame. And use that to hold the like this hand. There we go. So now what we need to do to get this frame totally done, totally emptied, is to get rid of the bottom brackets. So I'm going to adjust some camera angles and we'll take a look at doing that. So we got this bottom bracket shell on the back side still. As you remember, the front side, it just came out by hand. This one, I've got my bottom bracket tool on there, and I'm going to put a little lever arm to get a little extra addition on there, a little extra oomph to it. And our mounting posts are really good for being able to achieve our regular. There we go. Now we get it up entirely by hand. Tool off there. And there's our bottom bracket, other half. Put that in our parts bin. The next thing we've got is the eccentric in the bottom bracket. Now this tandem bike, they have eccentric bottom brackets to tighten the timing chain. So you tighten the timing chain with this eccentric bottom bracket, and that way the chain's not likely to fall off. So I don't really know how to take that off. I see there's a central screw, but I don't know if that's it or if there's something else to it that needs to be loosened. So we're going to mess around with that here for a minute. So let's take a look at this. I see the central screw in the center is a 4mm Allen. So we have to to see it out. That's loose. No, please on here. These will be worth 5 mils. I got to turn it. It doesn't want to turn. See if you loosen this thing up. I think you loosen that up. Tap it back. Tap it all together. Yeah, wait, what? Let's see if we can do that. Under. I think yes, it's a I think. So I'm going to go a little more right into it. Look at the side, the back side. I see that. The little step here. I think that's to do with our system. So I'm going to get a little hammer, tap that back. What's in here? Hold it forward. So I'm going to move that. That's not going to move much. I'm going to try and figure this out a little bit more. All right, so I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. I looked at it a little bit further, and I think, yeah, it's just this wedge bolt. I think this top portion, you might be able to see it on camera. It's kind of recessed in there. I think there's just 2 wedges right here that need to be pressed apart to allow it to move freely. So I'm going to use a little bit more persuasion with a larger hammer and a little better tool, and then try to hold the frame the best I can. And I think it's it. That release the bolt on the backside. Awesome. So now, just that. Let's move. Not really moving. So what I'm going to try to do is just take that bolt out. Release. Try to put it down here. Release all the way. Let's keep under it. There's one screw going into the bolt. For some reason, the wedge on the side. They can't do it this side here.
pull this side back, but no, we're trying. I'm not sure how. No, if I think more to the other side. Let's go for the whole. If I tap on the other side. Let's try this. Might come out. Let's make sure. Hold on. I can underneath. If I can I'll remove that seed. Maybe that's enough. Right on this. Right into the bottom right shell. It doesn't appear to come out any. Let's try that. I think my tool is going to start a little bit. Don't want that. There's a couple frame back here. Pull it out and catch on my jacket on the frame. This one really sound. There we go. Whew. Another way. All right, that might seem like really ship on the frame. So close. Let me try this. Okay. Try a little more. You can see. I'm gonna hit that. There.
It's wedge shaped too. All right, after much trial and tribulation, I was able to get that eccentric bottom bracket out. I found out that it is a wedge shape in general, so it can only come in and out on one direction. So once I loosen one side, I've got to pound it out the other direction. So it's kind of weird and dumb. But it's out and it's good. So now we're going to remove the bottom bracket out of the stoker position.
And then the frame's pretty much stripped down. So we're going to do that here. There we go. The frame's looking pretty good, so probably we'll use these to spot right. Other side here. There we go. Loosen that up.
Pull that out. There we go. Bottom bracket's out. I think I'm going to remove the derailleur hanger just to clean that up, and then we'll be done here.
I'll take the bottom right and put it in with the rest of parts. We got just out of camera here. Oops. All right, that's just letting me off.
I'm going to clean it up, wipe it down, and weigh the frame. All right, I was able to get these cantilever bosses out, and so now the frame is pretty much all stripped down, nothing left on it. I'm going to give it a quick wipe down and wipe down to get some of the dirt and dust and grime off, and then I'm going to pull the cantilever studs off of the fork, and I'll show you that. So, my God, and down. Down here. Down this line right here. Super narrow on this main. That's you. All right. Is there where? Right. Now with it. All right. Now it's time to see what the frame itself weighs. I'm going to set it aside and then get the fork out. Take those studs off the fork and then weigh it. All right, I got the fork in here in the stand, and I'm going to show you how I got the studs out of the frame. So I actually ended up taking my locking pliers, set them up to size of these studs here, lock them in there, got to move. Once they moved, I got my 9mm wrench, put it on there, and back it out. I know the reason why it's so tight, because they were locked in. Try that again. Leave a comment below as to what you think the frame's going to weigh. All right, just like with the bike fully built, we're going to weigh just the frame and see what that weighs in at. I don't have the best scale for that, but I think this will get us pretty close to what we're looking for. I got 8.13. See if we can get you there to see it. Uh, 8.14 now that it's steadied out. All right, next let's check the fork. All right, I got the fork here. We're going to put the fork on the scale, but before I do that, leave a guess in the comments as to what you think the weight is for the fork. .12. Zoom you in to see for yourself. 2.12 pounds for the fork.
10.2 pounds is about a third of what I hope the whole bike will be once completed. So it's a little heavy for the frame and fork, but we'll see how it comes together. Tune in to the next episode as we fix the defects in the frame, the paint scratches and the grime and grit that is on the frame. We're going to remove that dirt and we're going to fix that paint scratches and fill in the chips. Thank you for joining me here at Hemingway's Playground. And if you can, please take a moment to like and subscribe.